David Weeking responds to my 2-year quest for access to the corporate documents. The recent 2025 board elections go in a predictable pattern. And finally, a look at a very full mailbag resulting from the release of the article Ballot Harvesting. My name is Gregory Pickler with the MXB Wire, reporting from the Dune Road studio in Bethany Beach, and you're watching my community update for Saturday, September 6, 2025. On August 29, 2025, David Weeking replied to a follow-up email message that I sent him on August 16, 2025, or thereabouts. This may have been the last communication that Weeking sent while still the acting community president. In my email message dated August 16, 2025, I offer a legal opinion as to whether I came to the board with a proper purpose when I solicited the board to gain access to the corporate documents, in this case, the proxy ballots. In his email message, Weeking is responding as much to my email message dated August 16, 2025, as he is to the release of the article Ballot Harvesting. In defense of his long history of overvoting the ballots, Weeking writes, "Any general proxies that were assigned to me at any point in time, whether these were proxies assigned to me during my time serving on the board or times when I was not, were legally mine to vote as I wished, period. This applies to situations where someone informed me they had assigned me as the proxy and I should vote as I saw fit, and to those that were returned to our property manager's office with no candidate names checked off or filled in. If someone assigns me their general proxy, they are trusting me to make their decision for them, or if any candidates have been checked off or filled in, to vote in accordance with their choices." There are two problems with this argument. Firstly, over his 2 tenures as a board member and as community president, Weeking largely developed the rules behind how elections are proctored. So Weeking is in effect following his own rules, the ones that a small number of board members drafted in several iterations of the bylaws. The board adopted the most recent incarnation of the bylaws over the course of the spring of 2025. The membership was not involved nor consulted to any meaningful degree. One could argue, as I have done, the community was lied to as to the purpose of moving to an election process whereby elections are to be proctored by secret ballot. Starting in 2008 or thereabouts, Weeking also oversaw changes to the governing covenants. Dan Lyons, now deceased, had articulated grave concerns about the covenants and how the proposed revisions to the covenants incrementally broaden the powers of the board at the expense of the greater community. Lyons reportedly believed that the covenants removed certain responsibilities of the greater community membership, including, presumably, how the bylaws are revised, and in effect, who can change the bylaws. The bylaws do not now require a majority of vote of the membership, although at one time the bylaws presumably did. Instead, the board now has exclusive authority to change the bylaws at the board's discretion, circumventing the membership. In effect, the board can now change the rules of the game, notably how elections are proctored at any given time. Given the rules that Weeking had a hand in setting down, he now believes that he has a duty to fulfill his obligations to the association to install the people that he wants to work with. Others on the board, and any other member who draws the proxy ballots of other members, also has that power. Secondly, Weeking is conflating apathy with endorsement. A large portion of the membership have no interest in the personalities of the various board members. These members just want the place to run. If you believe Tommy, the whistleblower in the article Ballot Harvesting, the board typically overvotes 30 to 40 ballots every election cycle. That is not a small number, as Weeking later characterizes in his email message dated August 29, 2025. It is certainly not harmless. Weeking continues, "For the sake of completeness, as I have told you on many occasions, the number of general proxies assigned in their entirety to the board is traditionally quite small, usually in the low single digits. By, quote, in their entirety, I refer to those submitted without voting for any candidates. Any proxies submitted with even one candidate's name checked off would have been voted exactly the way for only the specific candidate or candidates checked off." Well, whatever that number is in the low single digits, that's more than any member in the community have. In his defense of his actions, Weeking completely misses the main thrust of the article. The bylaws, which the board has sole responsibility to set down, are broken. The bylaws serve the interest of the board and not the membership. The bylaws will tend to elevate corruption in lieu of the talents of the people who the membership strongly approves of. In 2023, a survey found that the membership strongly disapproves of the people who constitute the leadership of the board, whereas the membership largely approves of the board members who have less of a leadership role. How did your predictions for the 2025 board election go? Did you get it right this year? I didn't. I predicted that Margie Sear would come in with the second highest vote tally. She didn't. Sear tied Jim Silberman for last place in the vote tally. David Weeking exercised his discretion and handed Sear the fourth two-year term, leaving Silverman with the balance of the two-year term vacated by Kerry Hall. However, nowhere in Sear's community update did she mention that. Sear only announced that she had won a two-year term and that the board elected her as vice president. And now, on to the mail. This past week has been particularly active after the launch of the article Ballot Harvesting, and we received lots of feedback. Much of it was mixed, some positive, some negative. 80 people read the article within the first 24 hours. That was a new record. And most people like reading the article rather than watching me on video. And who can blame them? I read everything off of cue cards. But anyway, let's get to the mail. The first item in the mailbag is from a former board member. He or she writes, "I applaud your efforts to hold the MXB, quote, leadership accountable." The next item in the mailbag is from another former board member. He/she writes, "I fear that to many readers, the article Ballot Harvesting will just come across as a sour grapes rant. You picked a tough problem to focus on." Well, that's what we do here at the MXB Wire. The next item in the mailbag is from arbitration specialist Dr. Andre McKissick. She writes, "Wow, what a story." The next item in the mailbag is from an anonymous member of the community. He/she writes, "I think you are on to something." And that wraps it up for this installment of the MXB Wire's Community Update for Saturday, September 6th, 2025. My name is Greg Pickler. Again, I wish you a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great day.